Well, welcome back to Parent with Purpose. Today we're going to be talking about keeping boys intact. And what that means is that not circumcising. So we're not saying you shouldn't circumcise. That's never our intent, is to tell you what to do. The intent of this show is to actually show you pros and cons of different things so that you can be educated and make very educated decisions on what you do in your parenting. Really? Today, we want to welcome Brittany to the show. Welcome, Brittany.
Hi, Linda. It's good to be here.
And Brittany, what organization is it that you actually work for?
So I volunteer for the Intact Network, which is a nonprofit with the goal of sharing information on circumcision and intact care.
All right. And do you have any boys?
I have one son, and I also have 4 girls.
4 girls. Okay.
Yeah.
Busy girl. All right. So when did this become a passion of yours, and what is it that intrigued you to become part of this organization?
So it's been kind of a gradual over time as I've learned more about the topic that I've become more passionate about it. I think that one of the biggest reasons that I'm passionate about it is that a lot of people think of circumcision as a one-time decision and then it's over and done. But I've met people who feel like it's affected their entire life. My biggest reason for being passionate about it is for the men who wish that they had not been circumcised, and partners of circumcised men who wish that their partner was not circumcised, and the parents who wish that they'd had more information before they chose to circumcise their son.
Okay. So you are part of this organization, and what is the core value of this organization, and why are they so passionate about it?
Their core values are rooted in respect and non-shaming, sharing evidence-based information. And that is really very well aligned with my personal beliefs and my personal values.
Right. So non-shaming, meaning that you make your choices, but you make your choices based on information. So they're not criticizing people for having boys that are circumcised or for deciding that. They're just trying to educate.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, there are people within our organization who have circumcised sons, and they now look back and say, I wish I had done that differently. And we don't want to make anybody feel guilty for what they have chosen. The decision to circumcise or not circumcise doesn't make or break whether you're a good parent.
Absolutely.
We just want people to have all the information to be able to make an informed decision. Okay.
Correct. Okay. So Brittany, you're a mom, you have this baby boy, you decide to keep the baby boy intact, you bring it home and you kind of go, okay, now what? Like, how do I make sure that he is taken care of properly?
So we have a little rhyme that says, when intact, don't retract, only clean what is seen. And that it's actually very simple. You just wipe the outside of the penis from the base to the tip and leave it alone. And you don't want to let anybody try to pull the foreskin back before it is ready, because that can actually prematurely stretch or tear the foreskin. And so you want that, which actually causes some of the problems that people say circumcision prevents, but it's actually the improper care that causes those problems. So when they're properly cared for, then it's very easy.
So how would we know when we should be, is there a time that we should be starting to stretch that back, or do we just leave it alone completely?
You should leave it alone completely. The boy himself should be the first one to pull it back, and he will know when it's hurting him or not hurting him, and he will take care of it.
So now, on a personal level, what are the benefits for a man not to be circumcised?
A lot of people think that the foreskin is just like an extra flap of unnecessary skin. And actually, the foreskin has thousands of nerves in it. And it protects the head of the penis, similar to how our eyelids protect our eyes. So if you were to remove our eyelids, then the body would have to adjust to that change. and it wouldn't be the same as it was before. And that's the same with if you remove a foreskin.
Okay, and so how does that make any difference during sex or through cleaning processes or any of those, like any personal hygiene? How does that make a difference for a
When you
man?
remove the foreskin, it's going to affect the pH levels, the moisture levels, the sensitivity. So foreskin protects the sensitivity of the head of the penis, which when it's exposed, it rubs against clothing and becomes calloused, and it loses some sensitivity. That affects sexuality in that there's a loss of that sensitivity. And the loss of the foreskin itself also, it affects the sexual experience of both the man and his partner.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that. All right. And what about hygiene? Like what is the benefit to keeping the foreskin?
A lot of people think that being circumcised is more hygienic. That's what they've been told. However, there's really several reasons why that's not true. One of them is that when you circumcise a baby, you create a wound that is going to be in a diaper and is healing in a diaper, and that's not a sanitary environment for a wound to heal. The intact penis is actually sealed. There's a membrane that seals the foreskin to the glands, the head of the penis. All you have to do is wipe the outside of it. So it's very easy to clean. And there's a misconception that it's hard to clean, but it's actually very easy.
So medically speaking, quite often they will actually say that if you're not circumcised, you have a higher chance of HIV. Is that correct?
There's been some studies on that, but they were done in Africa. And so they're not applicable to the North America because we have a very, very different demographic here. Sure. And so, and there are also a lot of other criticisms of those studies. So I don't think that we can really definitively say
yes or no,
whether that it really prevents HIV.
Do you happen to have those studies on the website somewhere?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so we'll leave that link down below so people can take a look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so medically, they also talk about the fact that they feel that a child is much more prone to have infections if they are not circumcised. Is that truth or not?
The truth is that most of the time, if intact boys get infections, it's because they're not being properly cared for. And circumcised boys are actually more likely to have a problem with their penis, whether it's a circumcision complication or something caused by the lack of protection of the foreskin, than an intact boy is to have an infection. I guess the other issue that we talk about as far as circumcision and non-circumcision is religion. So there's several religions out there who say that you need to be circumcised, and I think, quote me if I'm wrong, that there's some religions that say you shouldn't be. So let's discuss religion and circumcision. What is the stance that Intact Network has on that particular subject with religion and circumcision? So we always try to share resources from people's faith that they belong to. Okay. So there are people within every religion who feel that followers of their religion should not circumcise. Okay. And so we always try to share those resources because those people from that faith can best explain it to members of their fellow faith. So give me a list of the different religions that actually have a support group within your Intact Network. We have an Intact Jewish network, an Intact Muslim network. We have the Whole Christian network. We have an Intact Mormon network, which I help with that because I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I'm LDS Mormon. There's also an Intact Pagan network. So all of those, we have support for all of those faiths that we provide. There's Facebook pages for all of those. Okay, so only because of my background, we can only go by what we know in life. I know that for a fact in the Bible, it actually talks in the Old Testament about God expecting men to get circumcised. And as in one battle, they all had to get circumcised before the battle, which kind of incapacitated them for a little while. But is that truth
for Christians now? Do we still believe that people should be circumcised? And how do we go around that whole religious, aspect that we've all grown up with?
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of Christians who live in areas where circumcision is common, who are under the impression that circumcision is required for religious reasons for Christians. And in the New Testament, there are a lot of scriptures that say that it is not a requirement for spiritual reasons for Christians.
Okay. And so do you have those listed somewhere on the site as well? Like, is it?
Mm-hmm. If you go to the wholechristian.org and
Mm-hmm.
click on verses, there's a whole list of New Testament verses that support that circumcision is not a requirement for Christians.
Okay, and so we'll leave that down below. So I'm going to get on a little bit of a personal level with you, Brittany. Can you tell me why you chose to keep your son intact?
So some people will look at my family and say, oh, you kept your son intact to match his dad because his dad is intact. Yeah. But we really made the decision based on a lot of research. We looked at the information that was out there, and what we found led us to feel that our son would be best off for his health and well-being if he stays intact. And we also had a family member who talked to us about their experience. They had circumcised their oldest son, had a negative experience with it. It was not what they expected. It was harder than they expected. And they just said, we're never doing this again. And so they had 2 more sons who they kept intact. And that was another reason that I really felt like it was the right decision.
Okay. So if you could give me your top 3 reasons, top 3, like your personal one with your own son because of experience and so on, your top 3 reasons why people should keep their son intact.
My top 3 reasons would be, number 1, that being intact is healthier. Number 2, being intact is more common from a worldwide perspective. And number 3 would be that being intact is better sexually for both man and his partner.
So Brittany, there's been a wealth of information that you've given us about what's, why we should or why we shouldn't, health-wise and so many other things. And this network that you actually work for is full of information. Is there anything more that we can do to help this network that you work for?
So we have chapters in every single state, and we also have some international chapters and have the religious chapters, and we are always in need of volunteers.
Okay.
So what I would recommend anybody who wants to get involved to do is to join your local group for the Intact Network. So it would be, I volunteer with Intact Utah. There's one in every single state, and find out what you can do to help.
Okay, so you're saying international. Is there, like I'm from Canada, is there some in Canada? Is there some in the UK? And how do they go about finding these?
If there isn't one in your area, then we can create one. And if there is one, then you can find it on Facebook or on our website also has links to those Facebook pages.
Okay, perfect. So we're going to have the Facebook page, the website page. In the website page, we'll also give some for the religion, and we probably won't list all the states. And we also have a list of the medical reasons why you should keep a boy intact.
Yes.
So I'm hoping today that this was a wealth of information for you, that you now can go to your doctor before your son is even born and have a solid reason why you are going to or not going to circumcise your son. And if you have any more questions regarding this, there are people out there like Brittany and this whole Intact network that is there to help you and answer whatever questions they can without judgment. It's one of the reasons why I really kind of got in tune with this whole organization, is because they really don't believe in judging you if you choose something differently than what they're saying. They do want you to be educated. Brittany, I want to thank you for your kind words and for your heart in actually just trying to help parents come up with a very logical, educated conclusion of what they should or should not do for their son. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And I am sure we're going to see Brittany again. And as always, we want to wish you an awesome day.